for still?
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Good morning, happy new year, happy 2020, leave 2021 in the rearview mirror to everybody here that's watching the show today. What the hell am I doing on a live stream at 11 o'clock on a Saturday morning? Reason being is I've been kicked out of the house because I've been too loud today. I've been too loud this morning, marching around the house, waking up the child and stuff. So I was told, go get lost for an hour. And so I found myself inside here and I realized, hey, I haven't done a Brentford preview yet. And obviously we play Brentford tomorrow in a game that I'm really, really looking forward to, considering the truncated Chelsea game that we had, and then also the Leeds match being postponed earlier on in the week. And there's a small bit to talk about, I suppose, with regards to this game. Specifically, I think really one of the biggest things is that Steven Gerrard is now back, is going to be back in the dugout at his press conference yesterday. He said quite a lot of good things, I think, things that fans will want to hear, specifically, or I suppose more so around who's going to be available for the game at the weekend. And he spoke at length, I suppose, really about what the month of January is going to entail. But not going to go into the transfer stuff. We're going to be talking about transfers till we're blue in the face for the next 30 days. But today we're going to keep it towards Brentford. And obviously we're playing against a Brentford team that came out of the traps at the start of the season. You know, they were flying it. They hit the ground running. A lot of the points that they've got were on the board early. They have had a little bit of lull in form. Over the last 10 games, they've won 2, drawn 2, lost 6. So, you know, when we look at some of the teams that they've lost against as well, it's an interesting kind of smorgasbord of teams that they've played. But the teams they've lost to have been Burnley, Norwich, Spurs, Chelsea, Brighton, and City. So it's a mix and pick 'em really of the of the teams in the league. It's not like, you know, over the last 10 games that they've just been consistently playing top 6 or top 10 teams. You know, they've lost the teams that in the bottom 3 in Burnley and Norwich. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting game tomorrow, specifically when we look at how they played against Man City. And we will look at some of the things that we will discuss or talk about some of the things that they did against Man City. But let's talk more so to start off about Steven Gerrard and look in-house first. So as I mentioned, it's great to see him back and doing press conferences again and speaking. Every time I listen to him speak, he just seems measured. You know, he seems measured, and what he says is what he means. I don't think there's any smoke blown a lot of the time with Steven Gerrard. And you know, he kind of just looks down the pipe at people when they ask him questions and answers them honestly. And sometimes the answer might be very milquetoast, and it mightn't have an awful lot of in-depth meaning or thought, or sorry, not thought, but in-depth meaning or in-depth. There might be a lot that you can pull from it, but maybe that's just what, like when I look at it, that's just what he feels like. Sometimes questions that managers get asked are completely, you know, irrelevant. They solicit an irrelevant answer, and I think that he plays that media game quite well at the moment. You know, he's still in the honeymoon period, I think, with regards to that. We'll see when what happens as it goes along. But every time I hear him speak, I feel that, you know, you can understand why he's been such a good ambassador for Liverpool for so long, and I'm just very, very thankful that he's continuing that with Aston Villa, and he's speaking so well and so clearly, and he's got clear communication about things as well. Although I would have liked him to name a couple of players or name a couple of positions that we were looking for, but he does know how the game works, and he said that the reason he wouldn't do that is because his phone would probably blow up from agents ringing him if he was to divulge the areas that he was looking to strengthen in. But he spoke a bit about the team in general and who we have, and there was some good news. I think there was some good news from the point of view that he mentioned that more or less everybody except Bailey and Nakamba will be in and around, will have an opportunity to start or to play or be involved at the tomorrow. And he did mention that Ashley Young has got a broken toe, and that might be something that might keep him out of the game. It might be something that means he might have to start in a bench or something like that. But realistically, I think we can weather the storm of letting Ashley Young, maybe take the day off if needs be. Because we do have players that can play in that number 10 position that can come in there. And yes, he is an old head and he has played well when he's come in there, and he's been very, very steady since Gerrard has taken over. But if you've got a broken toe, you've got a broken toe. And I don't think he's someone that we need to rush back into the fold for sure. He mentioned as well, like, he was very, very cautious to preface everything with, this is the way it is today, which was yesterday, and that there was COVID testing to be done. I think the COVID testing is being done today. So I will be as worried as all hell if I start getting notifications from at AVFC official on Twitter. If they start popping up throughout the course of the day today, that will be met with nervous trepidation to see if anybody is tested positive. I hope nobody does, as we've done a good job in kind of curtailing what could have been a pretty nasty outbreak. We've done a good job in curtailing that over the last few weeks. I know we did have an outbreak, but we didn't have the 19, 20, 21, 22 players down with it that other teams have had. Not that we know of anyway, which is always good to see, those mitigation factors. And look, whatever side of the coin you come down on with regards to it, I don't want to see games cancelled. So I want to see our players out there in the field, and I want to see our players out there in the field 100% fit. So if it means going back into those protocols and those bubbles and so on and so forth, then I'm all for it. Because it's really just about Aston Villa and Aston Villa getting points on the board, and getting points on the board in early January would be good, because we didn't have a very, very good January last season, and we need to kind of build, I think, upon the good start that Steven Gerrard has had. Steven Gerrard as well, in the press conference, I liked what he said about the workload of players. And I'm going back and I'm speaking an awful lot about Gerrard at the moment. And yes, we will get on to Brentford, but I just think there was a lot in this press conference, and he dealt with a lot of topics very, very well. He spoke very, very well about Thomas Franks, and he spoke very well about Brentford players in specific, Rico Henry, who won't be playing at the weekend, and Sergio Canos, who he said he knows from being at Liverpool. I didn't even know that Sergio Canos was played for Liverpool at any stage. So that was an interesting nugget. But he spoke about player workload, and I like the way that he kept it very unsalacious, if that is actually a word. So, like, there won't be any headlines written about what he said. He wasn't going to be dragged into the Sean Dyche argument with regards to it. I agree. I actually agree with both sides. I'm not usually very much a fence sitter with regards to something like that. I know Paddy isn't, and if he was here, he would interject at this moment in time with regards to the workload piece. But I can understand both sides' point of view with regards to it. But Gerrard just came out and basically said, listen, look, he respects the tradition of Boxing Day, but players to have to play 2 games in 48 hours is something that he thinks is a bit too much. And from my viewpoint, from a training viewpoint, from a game plan implementation viewpoint, and from a general spectacle of what fans want to see, I don't think players should have to play in a 48-hour period either, just from the genuine spectacle. And I'd like to see players and teams be able to game plan in between games, even if it's only walkthroughs for one training session on one day. That for me will be a bit better. But he dealt with the situation very, very well, and he spoke about it. And he also he was asked a bit of a curveball question as well with Steven Gerrard about Tyrone Mings and the captaincy. And I can't remember who asked it, but I thought there was a lot of layers to the question when he was asked. It was like, in your initial presser, you were asked about Tyrone Mings. You said he was the captain for now, and he could have had a massive misstep with the wording that he used in his answer, but he just brushed off the question. And that question, so I mentioned that some questions are asked, and they're asked to get to solicit an irrelevant answer, an answer that's very milquetoast. This one was the question that was asked to solicit an actual banger of a headline, and he danced around it very, very well. And he mentioned that, look, Tyrone is the captain, but then he moved on to the fact that, listen, Tyrone Mings isn't going to be there at the weekend, and whoever comes in is going to have to do the job for him. We haven't decided who it's going to be yet, whether it's going to be Courtney House or Axel Tuanzebe, who may not even be here come 4 o'clock tomorrow, or come 2 o'clock tomorrow, depending on what happens between United and Napoli. But it's yeah. So look, it's just a couple of things like that there was no real headline that came out of that press conference. I thought that was interesting, and it's just good to see him back there, and it's good to see that we've got him back in the dugout as well, and that there are no further positive cases so far, and long may that continue. So looking forward to the Brighton game. Obviously, when we played Brighton at the start of the season, we were hit by injuries, and I think there was COVID at that stage as well. When we played him earlier on in the season, Chuck Moeke made his start. I think he was one of the is he the youngest Aston Villa player to ever play in the Premier League or to ever start the game in the Premier League? There was something like that at the time. I don't have the statistics here in front of me, but we did play them. There was a lot of upheaval just before the game, and we went and we saw how Brighton want to play the game and how they play the game in the Championship. And they're going to move the ball around an awful lot between their back three. They're going to wait and be patient. They're going to play the balls down the wings. And, they've got Ivan Toney up front is a formidable player. Yeah, he's gone a bit dry at the moment, but the partnership he has with Brian Mbeumo, who is very doubtful for tomorrow and may not actually play, although they're hopeful he will play, but it's a 50-50 time cost at the moment. But it's more so the partnership that Tony has with Mbeumo up there that makes things really, really difficult. The two of them run forever, and they're real team players, as we would expect from Brighton strikers, because obviously we've got Ollie Watkins, who came from Brighton. You can see his work ethic. You see Neil Maupay, who came from Brighton. You see his work ethic, around the field. And maybe sometimes they suffer in the goal scoring stakes for the effort that they need to put in. But Ivan Toney, obviously, what he's done in the lower leagues and is, it can't be argued with, and what he did last season in their promotion season. So it's somebody that we're definitely going to have to look at. But when you take away the two strikers at the top, really, their engine room is so important for them. Their back three, as I say, will take pressure off the rest of the team passing the ball around. So we're passing around between the three of them. We're going to need to be very, very vigilant there. We're going to need to take our chances when we get them. I have a sneaking suspicion we will catch the back three in possession tomorrow, and maybe score a goal from it. I just have this feeling that we're going to press them like there's no tomorrow, and we're going to get right high on them. But I think that is dangerous as well, because, as I mentioned, their midfield three, their engine room in there, the likes of Onyeka, Baptiste, and Christian Norgard, who is unbelievably important to that Brentford team. Christian Norgard, outside of Brentford circles, he doesn't get an awful lot of kudos, I suppose, really. But he really makes everything tick for them. He has just a couple of stats here. I have a couple of stats on him here. He's by far and away their best passer. He averages 38 accurate passes per match. He's their best tackler in midfield as well. So he seems to be an all-rounder midfielder. He tackles, he's 1.9 successful tackles per match, which is the best of anyone in their team as well. He also is just back from suspension, so there is a yellow card in him. He's reached these 5 cards, but he sat out the Man City game. So he is back for us for the game against us, should I say. But he's a very, very influential player for them. He also has created the second most amount of big chances for Brentford at 3. So they, while it's a low number, he still has created the second most big chances for them this season. So he's definitely somebody that I think that we're going to have to be aware of. He plays in that pivot position just in front of the back three, and he allows the likes of Yanlet, if he is playing tomorrow, to kind of get around that midfield area along with Onyeka. And it's going to be it's going to be important, I think, for Aston Villa to do that. And yes, just as Lizanne has mentioned here, breaking news in the last couple of minutes, that Fabrizio Romano has said that Napoli have reached a verbal agreement with Man United for Axel Tuanzebe for a loan until June, 500k loan fee, and he's gone, essentially. So we won't see Axel Tuanzebe tomorrow. It's going to be Courtney House in there, unless he springs a surprise and he plays Lamar Bogart or Svinkles or calls up 16-year-old Josh Feeney, which, let's face it, ain't going to happen. He's just going to play a left footer in there. I think he's going to play a left foot Courtney House in beside Kanza, and that seems like it's going to be the case tomorrow. So, yeah, thanks very much for that, Lisanne. I think it is Lisanne McCallion. Thanks for mentioning that to us. He isn't going to be there. Tuanzebe is gone. So, once again, that start up the rumor mill, guys, because it looks like there's going to be a centre half coming in through the doors in Aston Villa Football Club. We know we've been linked to Pau Torres, and we know we've been linked to Joe Gomez, and let's see who else we get linked to over the next few days. But let's not get into transfers because we won't get, it'll be 2023 by the time we're finished talking about those. Back to the Brentford game. Brentford are missing quite a lot of players tomorrow. They're going to be missing Rico Henry. They're potentially going to be missing Brian Mbeumo. If Brian Mbeumo doesn't start tomorrow, that is a big, big miss for Brentford. Because Brian Mbeumo is the second highest goal scorer for them. He has the most successful dribbles per match for Brentford. So he is their main ball carrier, which is quite important for them. He averages the third highest amount of shots per game for them. Actually, the second highest. He's joined second highest with Sergio Canas shots per game for them as well. So he's a very, very important player. Now he does miss chances. So it would be naive of me to say that he's all-encompassing. He scored 3 goals this season, but he does miss a big chance every now and then. But I prefer not to be facing him for the work that he does around the field too, because he is really, really good at winning possession in that final third. So he's really good at pressuring, at pressing the defense and causing difficulties. And now that we know that Tyrone Mings isn't going to be there, now that we know that Axel Tuanzebe isn't going to be there, and we know that Courtney House is going to be in there, I would prefer Brian Mbeumo not to be flying in and around him because, look, we know that Courtney House's weakness at times can come from his feet. And the more time that he would have on a ball and less pressure that he would have and less press that he would have up there, I think is more beneficial for us. So if a lot tomorrow is going to hang on Brian Mbeumo, whether he's fit or whether he's not fit. And at the moment, it's 50-50, probably skewing more towards him playing tomorrow. But it'll be interesting to see what that holds for the team sheet tantrum, which we will be coming to you with tomorrow as well. Another person that they've lost, and they lost him early enough to injury, was Josh Da Silva. Josh Da Silva was very important for them. Yet another one of those metronomic midfielders that they have, and they seem to just really, really like midfielders who are busy, if that makes sense. He's not going to be there. Obviously, they've lost David Rea in goals. Very, very highly thought of goalkeeper. Arsenal were chasing him big style before they went and signed Ramsdale. And there's a couple of more, as I say. Vitaly Yanlet may play, may not play. It's trending that he will be back. German under-21 international, very, very good player, and just a real steady influence, a destroyer in their midfield, and somebody that would play potentially playing that double pivot beside Norgard there in midfield as well. Christoph Ayer, another the centre half, is touch and go whether he will be back. It's probably will be back for this game tomorrow. Big tall defender signed from Celtic during the off season. Pretty decent with the ball at his feet and good in the air. He'll probably come in and take over the position from Sorensen there and make a back three of Ayer, Janssen, and Ethan Pinnock there. Ethan Pinnock is very much a linchpin for them too. Ethan Pinnock does an awful lot of the game management from the back three as well. He's very much the pivot part. I don't want to call him a pivot person because of the fact that he plays in the back three, but he's the person that will receive the ball an awful lot and try and get things going. So if we are going to catch somebody in possession, Ethan Pinnock may not be the guy, so it would be probably a good idea, and I think that we would have seen it. We've seen it before, and we saw it when he was at Leeds, maybe pushing the ball towards Pontus Jansson and trying to maybe stifle Pinnock so that he isn't the option to take the ball from the goalkeeper or when the ball is coming back from the fullbacks in Canas and Roerslev. when the ball is coming back there. If we can maybe try and stifle Pinnock so that they have to take the option of Janssen or Ayer, that would be a good point, I think, for Aston Villa to focus on. But it's going to be really interesting to see the way that they set up. They have a 3-5-2 formation, but nothing is like take the three centre halves. The three centre halves are going to play the way they're going to play, and whether they play a single pivot or a double pivot, if Janlet's in there with Norgard, like their midfield, it doesn't really matter what formation they play. Their midfield 3 or the midfield 5, whichever way they're going to set up, is really where Aston Villa are going to need to pull up their bootstraps and to really get involved in there as well. And that brings me on to the Aston Villa team itself, because I think our midfield is definitely going to be the area where we're going to see some talking points. We're going to have John McGinn back, which is very, very good. Douglas Luiz is going to be in there. He had a good New Year's Eve by the looks of things. He's going to be in there as well, and I'm liking what Douglas Luiz is doing under Steven Gerrard. But then the next question is, who's going to be the opposite side of them? Are we going to see Sanson retain his place? Are we going to see Kenny Chukwuemeka come in there again? I don't think Chukwuemeka is going to be in there, but are we going to see Jacob Ramsey? So that midfield 3, whether it's a midfield 3 or whether they push maybe Ramsey further forward into the position that Ashley Young would normally take up. Does Danny Ings start? Do we look to start Traore, considering he is going to be going to the African Cup of Nations? Do we get the last few minutes out of Traore for a couple of weeks? Because we're not going to have him. Likewise with Trezeguet, do we see those on the bench? Or do we not play them because they're coming back from injury and they're going after the AFCON? There's been a lot of talk about the AFCON and how it's maybe people aren't taking it as seriously as maybe it deserves to be. I know there's a lot of talk about Watford. Not something I really want to get into. I don't have any opinion on it either way. As I say, I started off this talking about COVID and Aston Villa. I wanted to see Aston Villa play, and I think I want to see Aston Villa play. But far be it for me to tell anybody they can't go to the AFCON. Like, it would be stereotypical of me to start going either way on it here, considering everybody knows how we felt about Emi Martinez and Emi Buendia going away. So just basically pull our opinions from that, and that's what our opinion is going to be here. But it's not the topic we want to talk about today. But will they be played? Are we allowed to play them? Can we play them in this game? Are they an option for us? So it's going to be a really interesting team sheet tantrum tomorrow, because I think a Bertrand Traore against this team would be very, very beneficial, and I would I would nearly start him, and I don't think I would start Danny Ings in this game tomorrow. And the reason being is that it's just not working. I don't know why it's not working. Can't put my hand on it why it's not working. Can't put my hand on how to fix it. Dean Smith couldn't fix it. Can Steven Gerrard fix it? I just don't know. I just don't know what the situation is going to be there. And Fred Red here says, will Ings only get worse under Gerrard? He seems to just be irrelevant to any of his plans. Feel bad for him. I don't feel bad for any player. I don't feel bad for any singular player in that instance. Danny Ings is a fine player, and there's going to have some good moments at Aston Villa. And at the moment, it's not going great for him. He started the season with 2 goals. Was it 2 goals or was it 3 goals? And he's game against Everton. He was just absolutely fantastic. He ran the show, but he's been injured, and he's had a truncated last few weeks, and just things aren't going great for him. But there's nowhere near a sample size at the moment for us to turn around and say that it will never work, or he's only going to get worse. For 2 reasons, because Gerrard has only been here for however many games, and Danny Ings has been out for a lot of those games. So I think there's a lot of story to be written there for this game tomorrow. I would start somebody with a bit of a sparkle, like a Bertrand Traore maybe, if I got the opportunity. I think Buendia does start. I think Buendia is made for this game. I think he's made to press on to that back 3, as I mentioned, and I think we'll see him very high up beside Watkins an awful lot. And also, I think that he does have the work rate to be able to track back and to probably start on the right hand side. So he'll likely be tracking back against the likes of Canos, Sergi Canos as well, who is a very big creator for them. But I think one of the biggest things in this game is that we're going to need options off the bench. I think because we know how Brentford played against Manchester City, and they just made things really, really compact in the middle of midfield. Like if any of you guys want to go on to who scored and look at it, the way that they set up their map, their player position map is absolutely hilariously compact in the middle of midfield, and then they just fire players over to the left hand side. So they really just wanted to shut down that left hand side, and they did, to all intents and purposes. They absolutely did. But I think Aston Villa are going to have to get cute to that, and Aston Villa are going to have to be more aware, I think, of some of the situations that the Brentford are going to try and funnel them into. Because with the five in the middle of midfield, the real aspect of having five in midfield is to funnel players and funnel the play into an area that you feel safe playing in, if that makes sense. And Villa weren't able to do that when we played three at the back, and that's the beauty. That's the, I suppose, the underlying kind of philosophy behind three at the back is to be able to is compact the midfield, but funnel the play into an area where you push it away from your goals. And they did that to a greater extent. They soaked up pressure on the edge of their box. I think they had something like 13 tackles on the left-hand side between the box, the edge of their box and the end line. And they had 12 tackles between the edge of the box and their end line and the right-hand side. They had, I think it was something like 16 tackles inside the box. So they invited an awful lot of pressure towards their box. And I think Aston Villa have the capability of doing that tomorrow. But Steven Gerrard came into the league and he said he wanted to dominate possession. They may not be the exact words that he used, but he said he wants to be more of a possession-based team from memory. That's what I think he said. We haven't really shown that. I think tomorrow, if we do start to get a foothold on the game, albeit that we are away, I don't think we're going to be able to win this game putting up if we are just to do it on the break. Because, as I say, they will funnel us down areas that we're maybe not comfortable in going in, but more so they will funnel us into areas that they're comfortable putting us into, if that makes sense. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I'm looking forward to the game tomorrow. As games go, and I know we've lost to Nzebi now, but bar that, this is one of the games that we're kind of touching all the wood I have in my room. Touch wood, we won't have any scary surprises, and we should have who we have available for selection tomorrow. And it's been a long time since that's happened to Aston Villa. It's been quite a few weeks since that has happened, between injuries and COVID and whatever else. So I think the preparation for this game will be there. I think I think the will to come back and to show the will to come back and to kind of show that we are chomping at the bit is there, because I think they'll be a bit pissed off that they didn't get to play Leeds. Granted that Gerrard did say about the 26th and the 28th, though, that, you know, that kind of playing within 2 days was not ideal, but I think they'll be champing at the bit to come back and to play this game. He didn't seem very happy about the loss to Chelsea, which and he kind of, the way he spoke about that in the press conference, it was kind of a case that he felt the players knew what they did wrong, is what he said. I know all managers say that, but he kind of conveyed a kind of a view that it was, there are no excuses, and we did things that cost us goals, which we did, and, you know, we're all of that opinion, and that can't happen. And I like to hear that. I like to hear that from him. So hopefully we will be very prepared for this game. We will have had nearly 6 days to prepare for it, and COVID free. Hopefully, we will be able to see the best Aston Villa 11 out there tomorrow. Let's take a look at some of the comments there with regards to the game. Tuanzebe needs to stay and Mings can go to Napoli. I don't know. I think that we'll bring in someone better than Axel Tuanzebe to replace him. I think that there's no smoke without fire when you hear some of the names that are being bandied about. Yes, I know that sounds a bit silly when you're talking about transfers, but I think we'll bring in at least somebody of equal standard to Axel Tuanzebe, and and I think we'll come in and we'll have a nice little stable of centre halves there. Will McGinn be back? Yes, McGinn will be back tomorrow. Yeah, he's back in training. Well, he's back in training. Who knows what his match fitness is like? But I would envisage that John McGinn will be back tomorrow, for sure. Brentford set pieces are the main threat. House to start to Nzabian for the last 20. Yeah, that was, I think that was before him, but that is a good point as well. Brentford are good from set pieces. Like Christoph Ayer is an absolute mountain of a man back there. Pontus Janssen may not be the tallest, but he does get goals from headers, as we know in the championship. And Janlet is no shirking violet either. When he gets up there, he's a big man. So they do have players in there that can get agricultural from crosses and from set pieces as well. For sure. And we know Thomas Franks likes to be very detail oriented with a lot of things like set pieces and defending them and also scoring from them. They're one of the teams that brought innovation from that point of view, specifically to the championship, and have brought it through to the Premier League. I think they even have a sleep coach. Somebody mentioned that they have someone who coaches the players now to sleep. So I would imagine for sure is something that they would be focusing on, and not something they would like to see them lose goals from, which makes us kind of trying to dictate the possession a small bit more pivotal, I think, for us tomorrow. Because if we are going to break in the counter, we're going to need to do it ultra fast, and I just don't know. I don't know. Have we shown a massive ability to be able to do that so far this year? We did last year, but I don't know how we got that ability to break as fast as we need to be that really, really ruthless counter-attacking team this season. Matt also says Traore, Watkins, Buendia, front three. Yeah, I've absolutely no problem with that tomorrow. No problem with Traore either. I just don't know, can we even play him? I don't know what the rules are with regards to how short runway he has before the AFCON. I don't know. I wouldn't be too surprised if we can play him. I would be surprised to not see him get a lot of minutes tomorrow, if not start, if we're allowed playing. Did I mention Brighton a couple of times? Did I call him Brighton as opposed to Brentford? I could have. I sent Paddy about 10 texts this morning about the Brighton game, when obviously it is the Brentford game. So I am very much making that mistake all morning. So I do apologize. So, guys, I don't think there's much more to go through with regards to that. There is, for anybody who really wants to get into it and wants to look at more in-depth stats and how they play. If you and this is not an ad or anything like that. It was just interesting this morning. The Total Football Analysis have a free download of game week 20 statistics, specifically of the Brentford and Man City game. And I just thought it was an interesting read with how they set up their player positions, where they made their tackles and everything. There's nice visual graphics on it. If anybody wants to go on their site, you'll be able to download it. It's a really cool, it's a nice breakdown. If that is your thing, it's a completely free download. Don't do anything for the podcast, but I just thought it was quite cool. If anybody has nothing to do for the rest of the day, there's a bundle of statistical information in there that you'll be able to look at. And while they were under the cosh for an awful lot of the game, and it may be totally relevant when we go to play them tomorrow, it is quite interesting just to see the amount of data that the teams and that can be drawn from a game as well. If that's something that you're not as au fait with at the moment. But so that's going to do it, guys. Thanks so much to everybody for checking in. Sorry if I kept on calling on Brighton through the whole lot of the podcast. It didn't even register with me. But we would be playing Brentford tomorrow. And I am very much of the opinion that this should be a 3-point game for Aston Villa, provided we have all our players fit, healthy, and ready to go tomorrow. We will be back with a team sheet tantrum that will be happening at 12:50 tomorrow in lieu of the teams being announced. And until then, guys, thank you so much to everybody for listening and for watching. All that's left to say is Happy New Year to all of you out there. Anyone who's isolating, I hope that this has cheered you up a small little bit. Anybody who's out for a walk, I hope this has made you walk an extra step faster. Here's to a new great 2022, and here's to a good Villa performance tomorrow. And all that's left to say is up the Villa.